So I came home from work, dropped my keys, dropped everything, and this was when I had received my first paycheck of around $200. I got back into the car with my keys, my wallet, everything. I drove like 3 minutes to the shops. I picked up, I picked myself some lab mints, got back into the car, drove back home, and this was when I began my elimination diet. I had wanted to do this because I was experiencing quite a lot of brain fog and quite a lot of slow thinking, which I was convinced was because I was eating starchy carbohydrates, right? I'd wanted to do this to gain independence of my food because I was experiencing quite a lot of brain fog, which was affecting my work. I just wanted that money to choose my own food, which I was convinced was because of parents cooking, right? Because I was eating too much starchy carbohydrates and like ruining my brain. I definitely did feel a difference from doing that elimination diet of literally just eating lamb, just eating meat and eggs and drinking water for like 2 weeks, right? I definitely did feel an increase in focus and in mental acuity. But I actually began getting negative symptoms after 2 weeks. Right? I began getting like muscle twitching in my sleep. My entire body would just like jolt randomly. Right? I was going to the bathroom more times at night than usual, like twice a night, which was really quite ruining my sleep, and it was something that I was getting really hung up about. I thought all of these carnivore advocates online were right about this, that carnivore is the best and only diet for humans, but I felt kind of worse eating it, right? Even though I did feel better mentally. That's when one day my mother had told me that she had booked me in with a nutritionist, which was in my best hopes of which was in my best hopes so I could tell her about this. And I did end up getting with the nutritionist, and she had explained to me that because I live in the southern hemisphere in Australia, I need to be eating fruit again to replenish electrolytes, right, that I was losing. She had said that a carnivore diet is actually a North American diet, right? It's actually a Canadian diet or an Antarctic diet where in those places plants literally don't grow, right? So you could literally just eat meat and eggs alone your entire life if you lived there. So, oh yeah, she had just told me to start eating fruit again. And that's when the next day my lips had finally touched watermelon again. And the muscle twitching and going to the bathroom at night, too much at night, had stopped. I've been told that this was because I was replenishing my electrolytes and because I was retaining water in my body by eating that. I thought that I could survive on carnivore, but it just wasn't true. And I began eating vegetables again recently. I ate broccoli, right? And apparently humans are not actually supposed to eat fiber, I've heard. And I've had first-hand experience of this because I got quite bad constipation from eating that broccoli. I remember that I was standing in the bathroom at work, sending a text to my manager that I may have to end my shift early, that I may not even be able to begin my shift because I was having so much stomach pain after eating like 7 pieces of broccoli. Even eating something that has a bit of fiber in it. Like I ate kiwi fruit the other day. I just ate a bit and I could feel that gut uneasiness in my stomach. And I've always felt that from when I've been eating vegetables, right? Even before the elimination diet, I'd just be in the gym and I could just feel like my colon aching. And they simply just taste bad, right? That's your body trying to tell you that you're not supposed to eat that. It's fiber. We're not herbivores. I've heard a lot of carnivore advocates say that the fructose in fruit is bad for you, right? But I haven't really had an issue aside from the fibrous fruits. So, oh yeah, that's the only fruit that I've really been eating ever since. I've also tried dairy as well, right? I'm just having like a small slice of cheese right now. I you I used to try and make omelets, right? Which have quite a lot of cheese and butter in them. So, yeah, 1 kilogram of meat and 10 eggs every day for the past like almost 6 months now. The feeling of being full is great, of just like eating one meal a day, which is also something that I've also been doing. Just I've condensed breakfast, lunch, and dinner into like one big lunch and then like a small dinner, or literally just one big lunch, then no dinner at all. Right? The feeling of being full is a good feeling. It had always kind of felt like a challenge for me to eat 1 kilogram of meat and 10 eggs in one sitting. And that's when I was introduced to omelets, and I just found that eating omelets and mixing the eggs into the beef is easier than boiling eggs. Right? I haven't boiled eggs in like a few months now when I used to boil eggs all the time. I just find them much more difficult to eat. This is when I developed a love for cooking, right? I think that cooking is great. I think it's a good skill to learn. I just find myself like researching on YouTube and using ChatGPT to figure out how to like brown the beef properly, right? How to make omelets, how to cook the eggs properly, right? It's definitely a skill that I'd like to learn full time some point in my life. I am still eating 1 kilogram of beef and 10 eggs every day, and I think I'm gonna reduce it just to save time to focus on these videos, which is something that's actually been recommended to me, right? I believe that my source of brain fog was because of starches, and I was right because I ate like some. I ate lasagna the other day, which has quite a lot of pasta in it, and I did feel like my ability to think was just so much slower. I've also felt quite disconnected from the conventional, like, sugary foods and junk food I used to eat, like the sweeties, right? I just don't feel pulled towards them at all anymore. It's because my body doesn't want to eat that, right? It's just some weird chemical. It's not actually food. There's a reason that people describe this primal feeling that they get when they see a steak, for example, or even when they see eggs. It's because that's what we've been eating for millions, if not billions of years. So, of course, you're gonna want to eat that when you're hungry. I always go to my workplace, and in the break room and the team room, on the table, there's always like a pile of donuts. People just take them, right, without even thinking about it. They take one, maybe go for another. There's one guy who has like 4 or 5 with a coffee, right? That's never me. I never feel pulled towards things that are not actually food. I remember that a friend bought me a McFlurry once, and I couldn't even eat it after like 2 spoonfuls, right? Because what even is it? I can't even like tell what it is. It's just like solidified sugar. I always go to the petrol station, the gas station to fuel up. I always see like these Marses, these Twixes, these Snickers like lined up on the shelf beside me. I don't even feel a pull towards them. I might feel like a slight sensation on my tongue because I'm imagining how good it would taste, how sugary it would be, but not as much as a few years ago. I've been chocolate free for 18 months after being really badly addicted, by the way. I'll go into the pantry, there's just like chocolates lined up on the shelf. Again, I might feel like a slight sensation on my tongue, but it's not as bad as it had used to be, and I definitely do not believe that I'm gonna end up eating one. I do crave the things that still are kind of human food, like chips, but it's just the really bad things, like the ultra processed things, like, I don't know, candies. So I do have to use my willpower to not eat chips whenever we go out to restaurants and whatever. Right, we'll order like a predator board. I still do have to discipline myself to only eat the beef and the chicken. I find a lot of value in sharing food with people, right? I think, and I believe that everyone on the planet can agree with that, right? Like when something's cooking in the kitchen, you want to know what it is. I'm convinced that it's that primal feeling of what's the tribe eating, right? I need to know. I need to eat that as well. I'm missing out if I don't eat that, right? It could be literally anything that the family are making, like, I don't know, chicken, lasagna. It could not even be like restaurant quality, right? It could even be like mid food, but even then, you still want to eat it just because it's family, just because it's food being shared around people, right? I always feel like shit whenever I end up not eating that food that's being passed around in the kitchen or like on a camping trip, whatever, right? I always just feel empty and just feel dread that I've missed out. I've never actually gotten my testosterone checked, but I do feel some I do feel some increase in the symptoms of higher testosterone, right? Like not even feeling tired when you get a bad sleep, like having this bigger desire for work, right? Not as much as it could be, but I have definitely felt an increase, like having a stronger desire for brotherhood. I do have brotherhood at my workplace, and I find that I vibe a lot with that, which is aside from food, so I should probably get back to food. But and I have heard from carnivore advocates that carnivore has been an advocate for increasing men's testosterone. Right, I have heard success stories of like men even in their 70s getting to like 700 or 800, right, from being on carnivore. And I know I'm not on carnivore anymore. I'm more on an animal based diet of eating dairy and fruit along with it. But I still do feel a slight increase. There are some foods that I feel do help me, such as watermelon, and some foods that make me feel worse, such as starches, then some foods which don't really make that much of a difference, such as cheese. Right, I'm still trying to find out which other foods make me feel good. Because right now it's just watermelon of that thing of muscle twitching and retaining water. I remember that my diet choices used to be bad when I was a child, right? When I was younger. Well, my habits in general were bad when I was younger, but I used to eat like pounds of ice cream a day. Yeah, I used to eat a lot of ice cream, which is probably the worst thing you can eat, right? It's literally just pure fat. I used to eat like half a block of chocolate a day. I told you about my chocolate addiction. I used to just eat anything that I wanted basically that was in the fridge. My skin used to also be really bad, right? I could show you a picture if I can find it, but I still do have eczema and dermatitis and psoriasis now, but it used to be like all over my face, all over my body, right? You can probably see how clear my skin is now. Not completely clear, but it's much better than it was, right? And that was because of gluten, right? Most importantly, and sugar, but gluten was the biggest culprit. I was just eating like white bread going to school, right? I was just eating gluten basically. Like, you know, pidez is a Turkish dish. It's just like dough with beef in it. I used to flare up eating that. It has quite a lot of gluten in it. In it. I used to eat a lot of pizza, right? Quite a lot of gluten in it. I still flare up now eating pizza, right? Like the one slice I have every 2 months is enough for my skin all over here to just get dry and flaky and flare up. One slice does that to me, right? That's how sensitive I am. I do accredit me fixing my skin issues to diet, right? Because what else could it be? I don't believe that it's the sun. Because whenever I add something into my animal based diet now, like I added garlic powder, I always just get dry skin around here, right? I've never had like skin issues being on this diet. And even the diet I was on before I began this elimination diet, right? My skin was better even then. That diet was like the starchy carbs and vegetables with meat and eggs. My gut has never felt healthier being on this diet, right? I think that is just an ideology and just a misconception that too much meat is gonna overload your body, right? But my body has never felt better just eating this. It is just like a government psyop, right? I've had a lot of naysayers like talk against me eating this when I've began eating this, saying that it's bad for me and that I'm gonna I don't even know. They begin talking about cancer, right? Even though it's something that we've been eating for millions, if not billions of years. I've done this experiment before where I would stuff my stomach with different foods, right? When I stuff my stomach with pasta, I feel terrible brain fog, terrible sluggishness. I can't even like read a book properly because I can't focus. Right, I'd stuff my stomach with vegetables. I just didn't feel anything, right? Because it's a plant. It's not something that your body wants. I've stuffed my stomach with starches like bread and potatoes, right? I just feel clogged, right? I just feel like stuck in my body, like something's stuck in there because it's just like some rock that came out of the ground or it's some processed grain, right? It's just like some futile element in your body and along with the brain fog in that regard. But whenever I've stuffed my stomach with meat, with red meat, I never feel bad, right? Every time I've eaten a kilogram of meat and 10 eggs, I've always felt like satisfied in my stomach, right? It's never been bad for me. And of course, there are some meats which you cannot stuff your stomach with. Like, I don't really do well with a kilogram of chicken and 10 eggs. I'm not sure why, but I I do know that you can't eat too much organ meat, otherwise you'll just feel sick, right? And I've tried that before. I've eaten like a lot of chicken liver and it was not nice. It was not a nice feeling in my body. I guess that the result of that experiment is to see what effects that food like really has on your body, right? Instead of eating like a small amount of it and then not really feeling it, you'll be able to tell how that thing really makes you feel. I'm probably going to eat this for the rest of my life, right? Because that nutritionist said you need to eat what is needed based off of the country or continent that you're in, right? So maybe I may travel and then I need to eat something different. But this is the main this I do believe that this is going to be the main basis of my diet forever until I as long as I'm alive. I remember when I was quite young, I was fed a lot of my Indian cuisine, right? And my body physically could not tolerate that. It's mostly just starches and vegetables with very little meat, right? I remember that I literally threw up eating that once. I just find it sad that we've all been trained like dogs to eat this stuff from birth when it's not actually for us. And then we wonder why we all have these health issues. I've heard that the Native Americans, their elders were running and jumping and swimming and climbing and still doing all of this stuff at like 95, at 102, right? And all they ate was buffalo. Yeah, quite some bad experiences with some foods, right? I've never vibed with Indian cuisine because in some Indian religions, in Sikhism, which is my religion, they have this belief of eating no meat at all, which I think is just absurd. That's pretty much turning the biology that stuck with you for so long around, and then wondering why you feel sick, because I definitely felt sick. This is something that I'm most likely going to be eating for the rest of my life, right? The animal-based diet, which is carnivore mixed in with fruits and cheeses, because that's what I feel healthy eating, which is probably going to change because I'm going to be changing locations in the future and what you eat does need to change based off of the environment you're in. Make sure not to eat too much Parmesan though, it will make you sick.